So I'm here with the contest queen, Carolyn Wilman. She has helped other people win millions worth of cash and prizes. In fact, she has won over 400,000 herself. She is the author of 3 books, including How to Win, Cars, Cash, Trips, and more. We will put links to her books below. Her story is absolutely fascinating. But Carolyn, how are you doing today?
I'm so excited to be here because there's nothing I like more than sharing how to win.
Yes, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today to talk all about winning and to talk about sweepstakes and contests and the lottery. You have a lot of experience with all of these things. But first of all, for people that aren't familiar, what is your background? Can you explain what you do and what have you won?
Actually, I started as a marketer, which is why I got so successful at sweepstakes, because sweepstakes is just one form of marketing. And I found myself caught in the dot-com bubble. I was unemployed, and I read an article in Reader's Digest about a couple that enhanced their life by entering sweepstakes as a hobby. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I don't have to work. I'll just win stuff. It does not work that way. I have never earned my living winning. I wish I could, because honestly, if I had figured it out, I wouldn't be writing books. I'd be lying on a beach somewhere every day of the year. But it sure is a lot of fun, and it can really enhance your lifestyle. So if you have a very small travel budget, it can blow that up, and you can go to places that you could never afford. It could replace parts of your budget. So if you are spending on groceries and you win grocery gift cards, you can use that money other places. It can get you things that money can't buy. Like I have pictures with Michael Bublé and Sting. I wouldn't meet them in my everyday life. So there's lots of different parts to this hobby that make it so exciting and fun.
So how did that happen that you met Sting?
That one was really cool. It was when he published his biography. They had a opportunity to go down and listen to him speak. They had a very small audience. I think maybe 100 people could listen to this interview about his new book. And when he actually personally greeted every person that came and took pictures with them. And he was so nice. I thought, oh, no wonder this man's so successful, because he's so humble and he was so friendly. He was such an eloquent speaker. I thought, I get it. I immediately bought his book after that. It was fascinating. And that was a lot of fun.
Oh, I can't imagine. I mean, he's an icon with rock and roll for people that aren't familiar. So you are the contest queen that I'm speaking with right now, but how did you get this nickname?
There was a fella known as the Sweepstakes King, and he was the last person to write a big sweepstakes book in the United States. And then when I was the next one, I thought, well, if he's the king, I'm the queen. But really, I say it's a good marketing moniker. There's a lot of contest queens out there. If anybody has seen the movie or read the book, The Prize Winner of Defiance, Ohio, the women in that book, if they had been born now with their cleverness in jingles, they would be executives on Madison Avenue in some ad agency. They were brilliant women. To me, those were contest queens. I've had the pleasure of working with Helene Hadsell and now maintaining her legacy. We'll talk more about her later. And she, to me, was a contest queen. So I use it as a marketing moniker, but there's lots of sweepstakes kings and contest queens out there.
Yeah, and Helene Hadsell, for people that aren't familiar, I mean, she's very, very well known for winning all kinds of prizes. She has a huge following. She's passed away, but there is some new information that you have uncovered that we're going to talk about a little later in this interview. And I know a lot of people also have a lot of questions about your advice on how to win, your insights on how to win these contests, because you're winning all the time. You're people that are following your methods are winning all kinds of things all the time. And so I'm so excited to get to that. But how many contests per day do you enter?
Right now, I'm actually down a bit. My preference is to spend about an hour to 2 hours a day entering, closer to an hour. And you could enter approximately 100 giveaways in that time. It doesn't take as much time as people think. The key to entering that many in that short a period of time is to be organized. That's actually one of the things I see people doing the least is they're not organized. Because if you're not organized, you're going to easily disqualify yourself. You're not going to maximize your odds of winning, etc. And when you're doing that, you are hindering yourself. And so when you're organized, you can maximize your odds of winning. And it does show in the results.
So what are you entering? I mean, are these just online sweepstakes that you do a Google search on? I mean, how does this happen?
The first piece of advice I have for people is to set up an email address just for entering sweepstakes. And then the second piece of advice is to use a sweepstakes aggregate. There's a lot of websites out there that have already aggregated all the legitimate sweepstakes for people to enter. I shouldn't actually say the word all, a lot, because there's also locals and they can't do every sweepstakes in the country. Companies in the United States spend literally billions of dollars running promotions. Now that's the whole aspect of running the promotion, everything from creative to advertising to web development to fulfillment and including the part of the prize. But that is still a lot of prizes to be won. Everything from your local stores holding their own little giveaways to multinational corporations holding, nationwide sweepstakes. So there's everything in between. There are so many prizes to be won. It'd be impossible for you to sit and enter them all. You'd be up 24 hours and you still couldn't get to them all.
Well,
That's why this is a great hobby, because there's enough for everybody.
What do these companies give away mostly?
Well, everything from cash to trips to cars. And what's really great is I call them, there's the small prizes keep you going in between the biggies, I call them. So, you win a $10,000 check or, a $25,000 car or something. But the small prizes, I just had a $200 grocery gift card show up the other day. Well, that saves my budget. I've got one of my sweepstakes friends, her favorite thing to win are gas cards. And right now that's probably a really good prize to be winning. Everybody seems to have their favorite, which also makes it fun. I know people that love to win all the beauty giveaways, the perfume and the makeup, and it comes in and it's free. I know other people that like to win anything branded. So t-shirts, anything with a brand on it. They love winning that stuff. So there's so many different types of prizes to be won. Everybody can be satisfied with what they're going after.
Do you have a favorite source for where people can, an aggregate for where people should be entering contests?
I tell people don't use my favorite, because what my favorite is might not work for you. There's different formats. There's everything from lists to forums. Some are what they call freemium sites, where there's a free section, and if you pay a premium, you get other features in the sites. Some are just subscribers only, and there's different formats. Some are online, some are newsletters. And I tell people, go and check out different sites and formats and see what you like, because when you are having fun, that's when you're going to win. If I like a forum-based, but you find it confusing, you're not going to win, because every time you look at it to try and enter, you're going to get so frustrated, and that energy is not going to bring in any type of prize. So I tell people, go and check out different ones, poke around, try this one for a month, try that one for a month, see what you like. And when you're having fun and you're enjoying the hobby, that's when you're going to win.
I know you have won over 400,000 worth of prizes yourself, but what's the largest prize that you've ever won, or one that sticks out to you the most as being the most valuable to you?
Okay, I have 3 answers for that question. The first one is the most expensive, and that was a trip for 4 to the Winter Olympics when they were in Vancouver, Canada. And that was worth over $20,000 for 4 days, because everything was so expensive. The airfare had gone up and the hotel prices had gone up, like everything had just gone up. And then the tickets to the games and events that we went to. And then we got all this swag. We got to our hotel room and the bed was covered with swag from the sponsor. It was amazing. And so that was a really fun trip. So that was the most expensive. My favorite was when we got to go, before they finished filming the Harry Potter movies, we went to London for the weekend to the studios, and we were the first people outside cast and crew that had been on the set. And there was a party for 150 people. This was a global, they held this contest in different places around the world. So there was I think 30 countries represented. and there was 150 people, and we had a party in the set where they had the Great Hall.
Wow.
It was a little disappointing because you look up and you see all the rafters. There's no floating candles.
Oh.
We know that's all CGI, but still, you're there, and they served us dinner, and it was actually on the props. So when you see the kids eating dinner and there's all the chargers and the glasses and all that, they served us dinner using all that movie prop ware that I guess was usable, clearly, because people actually had food in it. And then I have a picture of me in Dumbledore's chair. None of the stars were there, unfortunately, but they did have the animals. They had the drooly dog. I can't remember his name. And they had Hedwig, the owl, and they had him flying around the set, and they showed where the trainers are. And it was really cool. So that, to me, is my favorite. And then my priceless prize is tied. I have a picture of me with Sting, and I have a picture with me and Michael Bublé. Love, love, love. So that's fun, because those are things that you don't get to do that in your everyday life.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's incredible. So when you enter all of these contests, I mean, it's a time, I assume anyway, that it's a time commitment, and it takes a lot of your energy. So when you actually win, what does it feel like? Is it euphoric, or is it surreal? I mean, how does that feel to actually be redeeming these prizes that you legitimately won?
I love it, but I have to say I've been doing it for 20 years, so it feels like old hat to me a little bit when I go and just use a grocery gift card instead of paying for my groceries. It feels good, trust me. Like, I'm not, siphoning anything from my bank account, and I'm getting my loyalty points at the grocery store, like double win. But I sometimes forget how exciting it is for people that don't. And I've been with my boyfriend George for 5 years, but he still thinks you have to work hard for your money, and I keep saying, no, you don't. And I had one grocery gift card that I hadn't used. And I said to him, hey, you're going out, use this. And he came back and he says, oh my gosh, it only cost me $10 for groceries. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I like winning. It's just so funny. And he lives with me, and he just shakes his head every time I win something, because he thinks this is ridiculous. Like, he'll pay for a vacation, and we'll go away on a vacation. I say, that's okay, I'll get the next one. And then I'll win a vacation. And I'll say, but you didn't pay for it. And I said, no, I didn't say I'd pay for it. I said, I get it.
Wow. And you just got back from Mexico from a trip that you won going down there. Is that right?
That is a great story, because it really shows the power of intention. In 2017, my sister took me on vacation for when I turned 50. And I thought, okay, when she turns 50, I'll take her away. But that year, when she turned 50, we went on a vacation that I had won. We went to a trip for 4. We went to Universal Studios. Then we went to a destination wedding. We had friends that got married. And then my sister got married in the fall. So there was no time and no money to take her away. And then the world locked down, because I thought, I'll take her in the spring. That didn't happen. So when things started to finally open up, George had taken me on a vacation. And I think part of it is I was already in the energy of the tropics when I made this declaration. So I said, hey, now that things are opening back up, I'd really like to take my sister away on the birthday trip I never got to take her on. I didn't really buy that much for their wedding, so this would be like a really great wedding present. I want to take my sister and her husband away on vacation. And in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, I got to finish my next book. I got to pay off my credit cards. I got to get out of debt. I got to save money for the trip. I'm thinking, I'm the contest queen, and I do all the law of attraction stuff, and I totally forgot. And I was home for 4 days, and then an agency I work for sent me a giveaway and said, hey, can you just share this? And I read the rules, and it was open to Canadians, and Booking.com was giving away 100 trips during the Super Bowl. And I thought, I'm winning me one of those. And what you had to do is you had to take a picture during the commercials. You had to post on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram about the picture, like how would it relate to travel. There was a picture of somebody in a pool, and I'm like, oh, that could be Palm Springs. Or there was pictures of animals, and I'm like, oh, that could be Costa Rica or an African safari. Like, I was just making stuff up. And then you tag the sponsor, and you use a specific hashtag. And for 4.5 hours, like, I literally got to 3% of my phone. Like, I just kept entering. And finally, George shut off the TV and said, okay, finished. It's enough. And I'm like, oh, but I can enter till midnight. But I just said, okay, if I'm going to win, I'm going to win. And one day came and went and nothing. And I thought, oh, and it's kind of crazy that I didn't clue into this because I run giveaways. Like my job where I earn money is I'm a sweepstakes marketer and I run giveaways for companies. So I should have known better that it's going to take a while to vet 100 potential winners and then contact them and wait for responses like that. That's almost a week's work. Tuesday morning, I got the notification from Booking and it said, check your DMs. And I'm like, so I said, hey, I want us a trip to Mexico. And he's just like, so I only been back a week and I had a trip. And I said, okay. But I've been back a week from my other trip and I haven't won another trip yet. So I'm like, come on, what's going on here?
Wow. Well, that's amazing. And you did mention that the law of attraction and your energy, which I know some people watching and listening to this are really interested in that. So what is that and how does that factor into what you do?
I believe that you have to think you're lucky and believe you're a winner before you are. Because if you say, I never win, you can almost feel that, like, ugh. That's not going to bring you a win. And if you're doing any kind of social media contest, so for example, there was one recently that closed where I live where you had to dance to a song and hashtag the sponsor, and the sponsor wants happy, excited people. If you're there just kind of like, even if it's a random draw, they're going to look at your entry and they're like, yeah, we're not putting that on our social. You have to be like, yeah, I love this. I love you. This is so fun. And so when you're putting that energy out there, that's what's going to attract prizes to you too. And so it's the law of attraction. A lot of people know of ask for what you want, believe you're going to get it, and then receive it. So you have to do 3 different steps. You have to be clear on what you're asking. You have to believe that you're going to get it. Because that's where I think that trips up a lot of people because they doubt it. And then you have to receive it. So I knew when I said to my boyfriend, yeah, I'm going to take them away and I want to go back to Mexico because we were in the Dominican. And I said, I really liked Mexico. I'd only been once. And I thought, I want to go back. And by the way, out of all the things that happened, this is actually an interesting story. You have to kind of trust the universe. When I was booking the trip, there was a lot of different factors with the agency, and we ended up at the only resort I've been to in all of Mexico because I wanted to go see something else because this world is big. We got a big planet. There's lots of exciting things to see and do. Of course, I ended up at the exact same resort, and I was a little disappointed, and I thought, okay, I'm trusting the universe because I had wanted to go to Puerto Vallarta. Well, the week we're in Mexico, there was a Category 4 hurricane on the other side of the country, hitting Puerto Vallarta, and we had fantastic weather, and I was walking on the beach saying, thank you, because you put me exactly where I needed to be for exactly what I wanted. You have to trust that what shows up is the right thing.
What story sticks out to you the most in your life, in your experience over the past, couple of decades? How, in your experience doing this with the law of attraction, with where it's just, sort of in your face and you're like, oh my gosh, I put my energy to this and this happened. I mean, do you have what sticks out to you the most?
I know we haven't really talked about Helene Hadsell a lot, and we can talk about her more in a bit, but one of the things she told me is that I split my energy. She was famous for winning every prize she ever desired, including a fully furnished home. So we'll get that off to the side. And she told me because of how I conduct the hobby, I go to these aggregates and I'm like, ooh, I would like that trip to Mexico. Ooh, I wouldn't mind winning that car. Ooh, there's a concert I could win tickets to. Ooh, there's this. And I go and enter all these different things. And I'll sit and I'll enter 100 and I'm having fun for an hour. I'm like, ooh, wonder if this is going to show up. Ooh, I wonder if that's going to show up. And that's where she's like, you're splitting your energy. What she used to do is find one thing she wanted. So one of her examples in her book is her kids wanted to go to a dude ranch. So she found a contest for a dude ranch. And she entered the one contest, focused on it, understood she was going to win it and then just won it because she wasn't splitting her energy. She says, you're splitting your energy. That's why you're not winning as much. And I decided she's right. And to me, picking one thing isn't fun. And again, if you're not having fun, then you're not going to win. So I decided I'd rather split my energy because for me, that's more fun. And again, that goes back to how you have to conduct the hobby the way you enjoy it. I know one fella, believe it or not, there's annual national sweepstakes conventions. Every year there's a convention for, I call it the good crazies. We all converge on a city, and there's usually anywhere between 300 and 800 people, depending on the year and location. Get together, and there's speakers and there's prizes, of course. And then we just hang out because it's so fun. I've made friends for life from this hobby, which is actually a prize that I never expected when I started, which is kind of nice. Like, I've gone on adventures and I've met people outside of actually entering sweepstakes that are almost better than any prize I've ever won. I think I'd have to win a car or a house to kind of maybe top the friendships. I'm still waiting on those two.
So the relationships at the conventions, I think, would be invaluable. That's so wonderful. But with Helene Hadsell, for people that aren't familiar, you mentioned her. So she was the contest queen before you were the contest queen. Is that right? Like she has a huge reputation and still to this day a huge following. And first of all, you met her and she gave you some guidance and some insights. So what happened?
What happened is at some point, every sweeper learns about Helene because she was famous for winning every contest she ever entered, including a fully furnished home. But technically, it was every prize she desired, because if she wanted one prize, she would enter multiple sweepstakes for it and just wait for the one prize to show up. And in 2008, I had a podcast before it was cool. And I had her as a guest. I was a terrible interviewer. So if anybody goes and listens to that, I apologize in advance. But her information is still good, so I share it. And after the podcast was over, I was on air, like on the phone with her, because we actually would phone in on a landline. This was like before any of this technology. And I said to her, can I come down to Texas and visit you? And she said no. And I'm like, all right. I took my shot. 3 days later, she calls me back and she says, well, you better come visit because your guides are really loud. Like, she was extremely intuitive.
Oh, wow.
Actually psychic. If you read some of her other books, she talks about other aspects of her intuition. And she said, you better come down and visit. So during that 4-day visit, she had said to me, look, you should be teaching maneuvers for witchcraft because when I'm gone, there's going to be no one to teach it. Because I think her original... Teaching what? She called it maneuvers. Yeah, it is a tongue twister. She called it maneuvers for witchcraft. And the idea was she didn't want anybody calling how she manifested prizes witchcraft. So she called it wishcraft. Yeah, and then maneuvers is a play on maneuvers, like win. Like she loved, when you read her books, she loved playing with words and making things up and being silly. I mean, come on, we got to have fun here, right? Yeah. And so she loved playing with words. Like when I sign her books, I say, I hope you have many wonderful adventures, because it's kind of like a nod to her and how she played with those words. It's kind of fun. Yeah. And then anyway, she said to me, well, you better teach it. And then I didn't do anything with it because my life kind of took a left turn. And in 2019, I said to George, I better do something with this because her son Dyke is aging and he's the last child. Her other two children had already passed before she did. And if I don't do something with this, her work is going to be lost to everybody. I better get off my butt and do something. And so I contacted Dyke and I got the rights to her work because I thought, we've got to revive this. And so I modernized them. You know, I got them in digital form. They weren't in digital form before, all these different things. And as part of that, her son Dyke said to me, do you want what's left of her library? And then the remaining business paperwork. And I said, sure. And he's getting up there, and for him to try and pack it all up and ship it to me, I said, do you want me to come down to Texas and get it? And he said, sure. So I took a couple of weeks to wrap up what I was doing here, and I got in my car and I drove to Texas. And I spent 3 days.
Oh my gosh, and you're in Canada.
I'm in Canada. Yeah, it took me 3 days to get there. I spent 3 days there, and then it took me 3 days to get back. So it was fun. I spent time getting there. I just, thank goodness for Spotify and Audible, right? That's what I did in the car ride. And when I got there, her house had been closed since she passed away. So things were, just sitting there stagnant. And I had to kind of sort through it because things had just been left on the shelf. And of course, I only took what was going to continue her legacy. I didn't need her cookbooks, and I didn't need, some of her other material, any of her fiction. She read fiction novels. I wasn't going to take any of that stuff because it wasn't going to help maintain how I can teach people what a wonderful, fun, amazing, quirky woman she was. In that, I found some things that I didn't know. So one of the things that occurred was I had done some TikToks on Helene, and people were mad at me because she hadn't won the lottery. And there's two answers to that. One, most people want to win the lottery because they want the money to do certain things, to feel certain ways and have certain things. Like, I want to win the lottery so I can buy the house. But if you can just win the house, you don't need the money. So that's what Helene did. She just won what she wanted. She didn't focus on the money because she got the end result. She didn't need that middle step of the cash. She's like, oh, I want a house. Oh, I'll just jump right over it. And then there was no lottery. We forget that lotteries weren't always around. Texas didn't have a state lottery until November of 1992. She was entering sweepstakes in the 50s and 60s, like 40 years before there was even a lottery. So she didn't really play with it a lot. And so in the second edition of her book, she did give a small bit of advice on how she thought, because she wrote this second edition in 1988. Still, again, before Texas had the state lottery, but other states had lotteries. So she gave it some thought and gave some advice on how she thought she would approach it. But that's all she had. And then after I got home with all of this material, I finally had a chance to sit and really go page by page. Because basically I could kind of tell at the time I was sifting through paperwork, oh, this is important. Put it in the box. I didn't really study it. I could just kind of tell. So I was going quick. And then when I had a chance to sit down and go page by page, file by file, I found some stuff that she had written on the lottery after the fact that if she published it, I have not seen it anywhere.
So Helene Hadsell has some new insights that you recently uncovered about the lottery. Are you able to share what a couple of those are?
Yes. So one she wrote in 1988, and she included it in the Name It and Claim It game. And I'm going to paraphrase it here because it's a bit too long to read out. But her advice is to use numbers that are significant to you. Okay? You want to use numbers that have energy, like your birth date, a house number, your social security number. And she said, use the same numbers, giving them energy every time you play, and see yourself being presented with a hefty check. That sounds good. So then one of the pieces that I found in the paperwork that she had not published before, I don't know what year she taught the class, but she said to this class, the numbers have energy. Because in this class, they wanted to know how to win the lottery. And so then she conducted an experiment asking each person which numbers they played. And they went through 1 to 49, and people put up their hands at each numbers. and they noted which numbers had the most people playing them. She said those are the numbers that people are giving the most energy to. Well, one of the participants in the class at lunch went out and bought a lottery ticket using the numbers from that class. She got all of them but one. So she didn't win the grand prize, but she won $25,000 from that class.
Oh my gosh. That's
Wow.
incredible. Yeah. And she,
So,
what
yeah.
was she used a method known as SPEC in her, when she entered contests. What was that?
SPEC, it actually ties right into what we talked about with the lottery numbers. So SPEC stands for select it, project it, expect it, collect it. So select it is, what do you want to win? So it could be a car, a trip, a grocery gift card, the lottery. And actually, SPEC isn't limited to winning prizes. You can use it in any area of your life. If you want a new job, if you want to focus it on a new job, if you want a new relationship, if you want, don't limit yourself to just prizes using Helene's method. That's the beauty of it. They're universal. So select it, whatever it is that you want, then project it. So you're going to, visualize yourself. In this case, like she said, imagine yourself having a hefty check handed to you, or you can imagine yourself getting the keys to a brand new car. You could imagine yourself, heading to the airport because you're going to get on that flight and jet somewhere south. Just visualize whatever it is you want. Going to the grocery store and handing over a gift card because you're getting all of this for free. You filled your basket and it's free. Pumping gas and it's free. Whatever it is. So select it and then project it by imagining it. I also like to use other tools. I like my vision board. It helps remind me of what I want. It's also fun to make them. Helene used something called the 3x5 method. She would take a 3x5 card vertically and write on it keywords of what she wanted, like blue car, international travel, gift cards, just real quick, short goals, and then tape them like in the bathroom, in the car, near her desk, where in the kitchen, wherever she was going to spend some time, and she could see it. And those trigger words it's kind of like a mini vision board. People do it all the time on their cell phones now, because you got to remember she never had a cell phone. So she would use the 3x5. A lot of people use their lock screen now on their phones to hold the image with words or pictures of what they want to win or their goals. So we can modernize it and then expect it. And I think this is the part that trips people up the most, because doubt starts to creep in and they think, oh, I'm not going to get it. It hasn't showed up. Some things don't instantly manifest or arrive. And that's can be a good thing, because if we just start, I saw somebody use this example one time and it's kind of hilarious. Just start imagining an elephant in your living room. You do not want an elephant in your living room. That would be a disaster, right? You don't want that to manifest. And so, some things, you should be glad your mind isn't so powerful as you could just literally think of an elephant in your living room and poof, they would appear and just destroy your couch and, poop everywhere and whatever they were doing. So, trunk of flailing, breaking windows, like this would be horrible. So some stuff takes a little time. So when you think of some things, you have to give it enough energy and give it a bit of time to get to you. It's kind of like turning the hot water tap on in your house. It takes a few minutes and then it comes because it's got to go through the pipes. Manifesting is kind of the same. You turn the water on, you got to wait a minute and then it shows up. And that's sometimes a good thing, but people get impatient. They're like, well, I turned the water on. It's not here yet. I'm waiting. It's not coming. And then they start doubting and they start trying to do other things. No, you have to have a little patience. It's kind of like floating in a pool. You just put your arms out and you just float. You're fine. It'll come. And then collect it, which is the easy part. You go down to the lottery office with your ticket and collect that check, you know, with your ID. Make sure you got your ID with you and go collect it, or make sure your passport's up to date because you're telling the universe, I'm ready to travel at any minute. You know, get those loyalty cards at the grocery store because you're going to be shopping for free. So you can also get your loyalty points. It's awesome. You know, you can make sure you're ready for whatever it is that you're asking for.
And I've interviewed some people that are very much into this subject, and some of them have also said and strongly believe that, you know, taking action also in addition to the belief is very important, because if you don't, you know, if you visualize it and everything, you actually have to take the step to do it as well, right?
I don't know. Do you know the old joke about Joe and God? And he would go every week, he'd go to church and he would pray, please let me win the lottery. I would do good with it. And every week for months and months, he went every Sunday, please, I want to win the lottery. And then finally, one Sunday, God calls down and goes, Joe, meet me halfway, buy a ticket.
That's
right. Like Joe needs to take action. You can't just be praying for it. You got to take action. It's actually called the law of attraction. Like action is right in the name. So if you want to be a famous author, you actually have to sit down and write that book. If you want to lose 20 pounds, you need to eat healthfully. If you want to become buff, you need to go to the gym every day and like get on the treadmill or use the weight machines. You have to take action. It just doesn't, you don't go to bed one night and wake up and like, poof, like that would be crazy, right? Like yeah, you have to take action, and the results start to show because you've pictured in mind what you want. Getting a job, you can't just sit here. You got to pump up your LinkedIn profile. You got to create a resume. You got to go on the job sites. You got to send it out. You got to contact everybody you know and say, hey, I'm looking for a role. Who do you know? And those things result in the action taken. Like, for example, when I said I won the trip to Mexico, well, I didn't just hope. I entered furiously and focused on it for 4.5 hours. And that was a ridiculously good sweepstakes because the entry period was very short. That doesn't happen that often. Usually they're weeks or months, you know, chance to win. But that was actually one of the keys to winning, because there's going to be less people entering because the entry period is literally one evening.
Yeah. What do you tell someone that is feeling a little frustrated and down on their luck because they haven't been winning?
Oh, we all go through dry spells as sweepers. And you just have to keep entering. And sometimes it's okay to take a break. I tell people, you know, if you're not feeling it right now, this hobby, companies have been running sweepstakes as a marketing tool. I have books, because I collect sweepstakes books, discussing marketing, sweepstakes as a marketing tool from the 1900s. This hobby has been around easily for over 120 years, probably more. It's not going away. So if you're feeling a bit burnt out and you take a break for a week, a month, a year, it doesn't matter. Guess what? When you come back, it'll be here. Now, it might have changed a little because social media took over. Like, there's all kinds of new methodologies that when Helene was entering, it was in store, on the radio, and mail in. And what has eclipsed that is online, which includes everything from just straight up online forms to social media on all forms and texting. She couldn't have imagined any of those entry methods at all.
Yeah, technology really, really changes very quickly. And I want to get into your advice for other people in just a second. But are there any success stories from people that have followed your method that stick out to you as being, you know, particularly fantastic, or that you want to share today?
Actually, my favorite is my friend who became my friend. His name is Tom Cavalli. And he read my book in 2008, my first edition called You Can't Win If You Don't Enter. And he thought, I can do this. And where he lives, so I live in Canada and he lives in the United States. And the United States are the best marketers in the world, the Americans. And so there's far more winning opportunities than there are in Canada. And so he has eclipsed me in wins. And he actually started a newsletter called I Win Contests to also teach people how to win and to help them find the giveaways. And so I refer to people to him all the time. And he's always off. Actually, it's really funny. I call it a sweeper problem. He just posted a picture. He was on vacation and he said, "No, I didn't win this." And I said, "Yes, we actually are consumers. We do purchase things. We don't win everything. We do buy things." Actually, as a marketer, I teach companies that sweepstakers make better consumers, because we'll go and try things and support the sponsor, whereas other people might not. And so we actually make better consumers, because, yeah, sadly, I don't win everything. I just win a lot.
So there are people out there that view what you're doing, and other people that win prizes, my life, other people, many people I've interviewed, as being lucky. But what is luck in your opinion?
Oh, I think you have to make your luck.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just show up. I mean, like I said, you have to go out there and find the sweepstakes and enter. But it's like getting attuned to it. So, for example, I think this has happened to everybody. You decide you need a new car, and you go test drive a few, and then you're kind of trying to pick what you want, and you kind of like this one. And suddenly, while you're driving around, you start seeing that car everywhere, because your brain filters out so much information. It will only show you what you've decided is important. I'm to the point where I see the word win everywhere. Like, I will snap my head. Wait, was that a giveaway on that sign? Like, did I miss something? Or in the grocery store, I'll back up. Like, wait, did that box have something on it? Oh, no, it was nothing. Or one time I've trained my daughter very well. I sent her off to get something from one of the aisles. I'm like, why is she taking so long? Meanwhile, she's down the chip aisle with her phone taking a picture of the bag because it had a sweepstakes on it, and she wanted to make sure I saw it. I'm like, no, it's okay. We'll just buy a bag. We support the sponsor. And then we have all the rules and everything. So you start to really become attuned to that. And so it self-perpetuates, because, for example, the social media algorithms will feed you more of what you look at. They've done studies on this. They'll set up a bot to look at dog videos, and then all they see is dog videos recommended to them. Well, my Instagram feed, guess what I only see on that Instagram feed are giveaways. It's crazy. It's feeding me more of what I do. So it becomes in your favor, and then it makes it entering and winning easier, because it's coming to you.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And so for people that are watching this, that are really hoping to start winning sweepstakes, contests, they want to follow your methods. How can they do that? What's the quickest way to start doing this?
To reiterate, set up an email just for entering. That filters a lot of stuff out. And then and check it every day, because you don't want to miss a winning notification. If you start entering in social, check all those notifications. Use a sweepstakes aggregate, and then read the rules properly. Like, read the rules and follow them. Because if you don't follow the rules, you've disqualified yourself. Oh, I remember at the beginning, I'd get so excited. I'd tell people, read the rules. I get so excited, I'd fill out a form. I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be great. When I was married, I call him my husband. I would fill out my name. I'd fill out his name. I think, oh, I should read the rules. Oh, it's 1 entry per household. I've just disqualified us. Like, why did I do that? Read the rules first. Hello. One time I ended up sumo wrestling someone because I skimmed the rules. So I won they gave away 4 silver passes to the Indy race. My ex, my husband was he loved car racing. So I was like, great, I won the passes for him. And then they said, oh, and you have to come down to win the grand prize. You have to sumo wrestle each other. Well, 2 of the people took the silver passes and left, but I thought, oh, I tell people I'm the contest queen, read the rules. I better suck it up, buttercup, and go down there. And so I sumo wrestled somebody. I got clombered. I didn't win, but.
So you actually sumo wrestled somebody.
Yeah, I didn't read the rules properly. I skimmed them. I missed the part about having to go down and sumo wrestle.
Wait a second. So what was that like? You were actually, did you have the outfit on and everything?
Yeah,
how does that work?
It was kind of terrible because it was July in the middle of the racetrack. They had this wrestle ring set up, and I think it had to be like 104. So these wrestle suits are like vinyl, so they're all sticky, and they lie them down and you scooge backwards into them. And I'm only 5'2", so the suit came to like here, and then on the tops of my feet it was rubbing. And then the helmet was so big that I said, here, give me my baseball hat. I put it on backwards, hoping it would hold the helmet up. It didn't work. Then I saw somebody had some of these wrestle t-shirts. I'm like, give me one of the t-shirts. So I folded it up and stuck it on my head and then put the helmet on. So now it's kind of, I could see, but it's not attached properly. Then when the other fella had sumo wrestled, and he was bigger. He was almost 6 foot. So he's like coming along and he just bumps me and I went flying. He had to sign the declaration saying basically, if you die, it's not our fault. And and then I got squished in between not the bars, the elastic, the cording around the ring. My head got jammed. The helmet got jammed. And then I'm there. And of course, then it came down over my face. And so now I'm stuck like a turtle. It was, I couldn't move. People had to come rescue me. It was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
But you know what? I kind of laugh at it because it's my own fault. I didn't read the rules. It's a memory I will never forget because I do say this hobby has taken me on adventures. And I've done things that I would never have done had I not won it. So, yeah, I still tell the story. It happened about 10 years ago. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you lived to tell about it. That's incredible.
Yeah, so you can do things that are crazy. I know people that have been in wing eating contests. I know a woman, somebody didn't show up. It was like at a radio station thing. They were giving away a car. They had a tub, like when a swimming pool full of foam. People came prepared, so they're in their swimsuits to go in. They all qualified, but they were short. And they said, is there anybody here, like viewers, want to go try to see if you can win a car? She's fully dressed in a business suit because this was like, I don't know, back in the day and everyone worked in the office. She's like, I'll go. She literally, blouse, slacks, pantyhose, whatever. She's like, I'm going to win a car. I'm in the pool. And off she went. Yeah, like people do crazy things to win. I know people who've dug through snow looking for car keys as for part of a contest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a fun hobby. You can do all kinds of crazy fun things when are you going to do that in everyday life? And live to tell about it.
Yeah. Yeah. New adventures. Just read the rules.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
All of them.
So you actually go to conventions full of people that do exactly what you're doing. Is that right? That do contests and that enter full-time sweepstakes entering people. I don't know what the term is, but tons of people, hundreds of people that are doing what you're doing. So what is that like?
First, it's a hobby. Nobody does it full-time for a living.
Okay. It's
a hobby, and I call us sweepstakes enthusiasts because none of us earn our living winning. Some people have regular jobs and they do this as a hobby at night. Some people, a lot of new mothers start this hobby because they have the time, especially if baby's up at night, they can sit and enter some sweepstakes on their phone. People who've retired, they're like, oh, now I have this big block of time. I can sit and enter some sweepstakes. I have the time to invest in it. And it's such a fun hobby, and there's so many people passionate about it. This will be next in 2023 will be the 33rd annual National Sweepstakes Convention. So it's been going on a while. It moves from city to city, and it's all run by volunteers. So a sweepstakes club, there's sweepstakes clubs too, will run it. And so this year, 2022, it was in Manchester, New Hampshire. And next year, it's going to Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm very excited. I'm already booked. And one of the great stories is that people don't only win prizes at the convention, they get notified they win prizes from normal, regular, everyday sweepstakes at the convention. So Tom Cavalli, who I talked about, was one of the speakers, and he was the first speaker after lunch. And he, on his lunch, he was notified that he had won a cruise. So before he started his speech, he made a little bit of a sarcastic comment and said, who here won? He was telling us the story and we're all cheering for him. We're all happy. And then he said, who else won a trip at lunch? And I went. And he said, really? I said, yeah. He said, where? I said, I won a trip to a music festival. He just shook his head and everyone was cheering. It's such a crazy, fun hobby. I remember even one year when somebody had his cell phone ring and he answered it right in the middle of somebody speaking, but he was quiet about it. And then he hung up and he stood up and he interrupted everything and said, I just won a car. And 600 people started screaming. It was louder than any rock concert you've attended. Everybody was so happy for him. And that's the other thing I love about this hobby. He won, but nobody was upset that, oh, I didn't win. I didn't win. No, we were all happy for him because your turn, there's always something else to win. There's always another trip. There's always another check. There's always another. So we're all happy for each other. It's kind of like all boats rise with the tide, which I love about the sweepstakes community.
Helene Hadsell in 2010, I believe this is new information. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a document that you showed me, but she's quoted as saying in a closing comment, sometimes not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. What does that mean to you?
Well, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so, for example, we had talked about my just coming back from Mexico, and I ended up booking the trip in the Riviera Maya. And I've only been to Mexico once and to one specific resort. So we have a big, beautiful world. I want to experience as much as I can. I was hoping to go somewhere else. Not that the place I went wasn't wonderful, but, I want to experience something else. And by stroke of luck, I ended up at the same place. I was a little disappointed, but I thought the universe has a reason for putting me back here. And sure enough, I had been looking at resorts on the western side of Mexico. And the day we arrived in Mexico for our trip, the other side of the country experienced a Category 4 hurricane. So when I was walking along the beach, I was basically thanking Mother Earth for putting me exactly where I needed to be, because we had perfect weather all week. It was hot and sunny. The resort was amazing. And had we been on the other side of the country, we would either have been hunkered down or we just never would have left for it. And I don't know what would have happened to the trip. So sometimes not getting what you want is a stroke of luck. And sometimes you don't even know the reason. Like I happened to know because of the weather and was able to say, thank you for putting me here. Sometimes you don't know. And so you have to trust that you didn't get X because Y is going to show up. I think it's that old story. Eckhart Tolle tells a story about the guy that wins a car and all his friends are like, you're so lucky. And then he ends up in this terrible car accident and ends up in the hospital and his friends are like, you're so unlucky. He says, we'll see. And then he ends up in the hospital and his friends are like, you're so unlucky. And he says, well, we'll see. And then there's a terrible storm and his house is washed out to sea. But because he's in the hospital, he's safe. And his friends are like, you're so lucky. And he says, we'll see. We can't really judge what's lucky and unlucky. We just have to trust that what happens is kind of the best for us. And I say we're stubborn humans and we don't like to hear that.
But you believe we're connected to the universe, to a higher source, and that kind of controls what our reality is?
Absolutely. And Helene did too. If you read her books, she had ups and downs in her life, which I like that she put some of the downs in her book. Because people think, well, her life must have been, sunshine, roses, and, unicorn sparkles. She did. She had some of that stuff. She won a house. She traveled all over the world. She had a wonderful husband. She had 3 beautiful children. She had some of that, wonderful stuff, but she got sick one time. They thought it was cancer. Thankfully it wasn't, but she had a bad infection. She ended up getting operated on. In those days, that was the solution to help her heal. She had rheumatoid rheumatic fever, rather, when she was 17. They thought she was going to die. So she's had her share. She was in a terrible car accident, and that's why when she was older, she didn't look the same way as when she was younger, because her face, they didn't have airbags, so her face hit the dashboard and just smushed it. And she overheard the nurses saying, "Oh, I wonder what she looked like." So they didn't quite. Also, plastic surgery at the time wasn't the way it is now, so they weren't able to, reshape her face exactly the way it was. She was lucky. She was probably lucky that she could even breathe out of her nose. So, yeah, she had her share of up and downs in between winning the trips and winning the cars and all the other things. And so she's like, that's what she's letting people know in her book, that I won a lot, but I also had my share of being human too. And so you can't dismiss it as being bad. It's just part of being here and part of the journey, and it's all good.
How much of your reality do you think is the way that you shape it in your mind?
It's supposed to be all of it, but even I still have trouble wrapping my head around that, because I'm human and I'm learning, and it's part of my learning. That's when I'm here to learn. Yeah. And so that's the fun of it. I'm currently reading the famous Florence Scovel Shinn book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. We're playing with different things, try different things. And that's what I teach people about the hobby too. Play with it. Do you like radio contests better? Well, focus on those. If you just want to win trips, make those your priority. There was one fella I saw at one of the conventions, and his focus was just video contests. Now, it was before they were as popular as they are now, but he would only do video contests, and he would enter maybe 5 a year, but he'd probably win 3 of them. Spend 15 minutes one day, spend 3 hours the next. Just it's fun. Don't limit yourself to any of it, and then just see what shows up. You'd be shocked. I think part of me thinks I started entering sweepstakes because I like getting mail. Yeah. I love when the UPS truck shows up, or I hear the clink of the mailbox and I know something's in there, and I'm like, ooh, what showed up today? Because sometimes they don't notify you. Prizes just arrive.
I have a hunch that you get more mail than the average person.
And it's not bills.
So how do you compare sweepstakes versus playing the lottery? How do those two things compare to you?
I really like sweepstakes because the lottery requires money to buy the tickets, which I don't mind spending, and I do buy when I feel lucky. But I like sweepstakes because it's free to enter, and the odds of winning are far greater. So that's why I like entering sweepstakes, because my chances of winning a gift card are better than the lottery or a trip or a car, and it's fun, and I can win more often. So on average, I win 5 to 15 prizes a month. I don't know a lot of people that win that often in the lottery.
What are these on average? What sort of prizes do you win in that period of time?
Well, 1 month I won, a couple of Skip the Dishes gift cards. I won a couple of pairs of running shoes. I won 2 stock pots. I won a trip. It really varies. I won gift cards here. One time I entered a video contest and I won $1,000 in Visa gift cards. And I used them on the chair that I'm sitting in because I needed a new office chair. So I treated myself. I do like practical items too. So there's all kinds of things that you can use the gift cards for, or the prizes for. Gifts, I use it for gifts all the time, because things I could win things that I can't afford, and then I can use them as gifts. I just love it. It's the best hobby in the world. I'm just maybe really biased.
No, that's incredible. That inspires me to want to start entering some of these contests. That's incredible. Yeah.
You'd be surprised. And you can do it while you work, because if you're working at your computer, you can easily have the radio on and do the cue to call in or text in or listen for your name while you're working. If you sit for a couple of hours watching TV at night, there's no reason you can't have your laptop on your lap entering sweepstakes, or your tablet or your phone entering social media giveaways. You have time in the day. You just need to find it.
What's the easiest contest to win?
I say to people, find your locals. So what that means is, I call it concentric circles. You're going to enter things in your city, and then your state, and then the country. So of course, there's going to be less people entering a local giveaway. So for example, go find all your local media outlets, because they're going to have tickets to events and prizes, and only people in that region are going to enter. So for example, I just went and saw an Elton John tribute show a couple of weekends ago with a girlfriend, and I won tickets from the local radio station, and I entered on their website. I didn't even phone in for that. And so the pool number of people that were entering that were very few. And so my odds of winning were better. Now people might say, well, I don't want to win that stuff. Well, that's okay. That leaves it for other people. Go find what you want to win. There's all kinds of giveaways. But like I said, if you start locally, your region, and then your state, and then nationally, your odds are going to shift.
I've interviewed a few people that strongly believe in manifestation and the law of attraction. Some of these people, one person in particular won over $100 million. And there are some people that really, really claim, they believe strongly that you can speaking something into existence is something that is very real for them. Do you think there's power in what we say?
Absolutely. I saw, I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember her name, but she wrote a book on spelling. Think about what you learn in school. You learn to spell, like a spell. And words have power. And I do believe some people, like Helene, and I can't remember, I can't remember, I saw that video, I can't remember the gentleman's name that won, the 100 million. They're able to kind of get out of their own way and almost vibrate at a higher frequency. And so things can just show up easily. I did notice this for myself, and I want to figure out how to get back there. So the week that I went to the Sweepstakes convention, I won more than I have in ages. Like, I won 5 prizes in one day, which I've never done. I think the last I had was 3. So this topped that, including the trip.
Wow.
I also sold more books and had more business come in and taught more people than I have in a long time. And I think it's because I was just basically having fun and hanging out with my friends and just living in absolute joy for days. And then things would happen that would like raise the joy level. Like I'd win something else and we were just laughing all day. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I do that every day? And I think some people are able to maintain that level. I haven't mastered it yet, but that's a goal.
People that want to know more about you and are interested in your books, you have several books out there, including You Can't Win If You Don't Enter, only 99 cents. That's amazing. How to Win Cash Cars, Trips, and More, and a book titled Prizes Everywhere. I mean, if those books don't have to do with winning, I mean, those sound like winning books to me. But where can people find those? Where can people find your website, find you on social media and all this? Where can people find you?
Well, I am the Contest Queen, so that's my URL, contestqueen.com. And people can even start winning for free. I have right on the homepage 5 steps to begin winning. They can click on that and just start going through my process. I have it all laid out. You can just follow step by step. And to encourage people to sign up for my newsletter, I offer a free sweepstakes starter kit. It's a little 12-page booklet to also help you win. And of course, my newsletter is chock full of good information. We have everything from articles to contests I'm promoting to tips and tricks and information about our bi-monthly sweepstakes club meeting that's online. So anybody from anywhere in the world can join.
Wow, that's extraordinary. Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. We will also put links to your website and your books below for people that want to check that out. Carolyn, thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to say today?
Yeah, I don't think so, because we'll talk after I win the house.
Okay.
Or the lottery, or I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm going to win something big.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an accident that I got Helene Hadsell's maintaining her legacy. I think I'm destined to win something big like her. I'm like, my soul contract must have been something big.
Well, I hope that you'll come back here and talk to me when that happens.
Oh my God, you'd be like one of the first people I message. Holy crap! Guess what?
Well, I look forward to it. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
From your lips to God's ears. That's what we say.
That's right.
So that was my interview with Carolyn Wilman. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about this interview? I love checking out your comments. If you want to see new interviews and videos coming soon on this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when they come out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support.